Hi folks, hope you're doing well. It's Sunday, it's just gone 2:30. Well, there you go, 10th of the 1st. All right, 10 days into September, January. The months do get a bit confusing when you're locked down for most of it. Yeah, indeed. So, yeah. Well, today's one is, I'm not sure about the title, but based upon the fact that, okay, I was watching this Pettyrevenge one. It was another one of these Reddit things. But somebody put a story up that he went to work for a company and there was this couple of supervisors there. He went in as a manager, I do believe. But one of the supervisors was a nasty woman, really nasty, unpleasant person. And she was continuously trying to cause him problems. So after a while, she was bad-mouthing him to the people in charge. She was cancelling things she had no authority to do, but blaming him for it. And what's quite typical, really, of some people. Just got a nasty streak in them. Just got a little, if you do something to offend them, they go all out. Nuclear on you, as far as they're concerned. To cause you as much trouble as they can. Because rather than come out and say, I don't like you, I want nothing to do with you, they try to show they don't like you by causing you as much trouble as they possibly can. So, anyway, after a tad, he gets a bit fed up with this and he leaves and starts up his own company. His own company is doing very, very well in no time at all, so he looks to expand. Guess who's applying for a position? That nasty woman. So he declined her application digitally. He clicked on basically saying she's not qualified. Now, of course, the person who's doing it was r/, and he said what a lot of people would say: why didn't you bring her in for an interview? Because as soon as you bring her in for an interview, she sees it's you. She remembers how she treated you. And then you tell her she's not qualified. Then you tell her you wouldn't give her a job if she was the last person on earth applying for it. So there is the situation. There is a quandary, isn't it? What do you do? Well, from a Christian point of view, you can do that. You can do that. Absolutely, you can do that. Is it the right thing to do? For you, maybe. That's all that can be said. We all do things we shouldn't do. We all make mistakes, and it's perfectly human to want to shaft someone who's like that and has been like that towards you. It's perfectly human to want to do that. It really, really is. But what you choose to do is really between you and God. What I would say is, put it this way. If from a Christian point of view, if someone who's been like that comes to you and I should have prayed for them or, lead them in a sinner's prayer, that sort of thing, or pray for them because they need healing, anything like that. And you, understandably, say, I'm sorry, no. You've made it abundantly clear that you can't stand me, that I'm a horrible person. You've made these claims to people. You've told people to see me as that and to treat me as that. So why on earth are you coming to me expecting me to do anything whatsoever for you? Go somewhere else. It's perfectly fine for you to say to those people, look, as far as I'm concerned, I have no concern about you at all. You've made it that way. You've burned the bridges. You've made it to a point where I don't care. I couldn't care less whether you die and go to hell. Whether you spend eternity being punished for who you are. I couldn't care less. Even if it's you're just going to go to hell because of what you've done to me. I couldn't care. Yes, I could try and lead you to God, but, do I believe that the seed will fall on solid ground? No. As I say, that is an understandable reaction. However, if God wants that person to be blessed, to be healed, to be led to Him, then that's going to happen. With or without your assistance, with or without your help. It's going to happen anyway. That's the reality. It just means that someone else gets the blessing of being used by God to do that. You don't. Don't worry about it. You'll get other blessings. That's fine. And God's going to understand the situation. I mean, put it this way. Because we're not of this kingdom, if someone is out of order, you can't really use the world system to do anything about it. You've got to ask God to deal with the situation. If God does nothing, which really is what God has been doing for the past 10 or 20 years, well then God will understand completely if you react. Or if you decide to deal with it. That doesn't mean you should. The reason why I say that is because normally what people would say is trust God to deal with it. Give it to God, let God deal with it. The problem is God hasn't been dealing with stuff. That's the reality. He hasn't. So maybe God has just started to deal with things. I don't know. Certainly from the picture that has been seen, God has allowed nasty people. Look at all this left-wing stuff. He's allowed those people to slander people, to basically destroy people over nothing. Nothing at all. That Lawrence Fox did, I mentioned this before, he did his interview on probably Question Time. He made a comment there, and what he said was true. It was true. But people used what he said, twisted it a bit, made it into something that was homophobic and against transgender people. And his career was gone. Very, very quickly, just gone. Now, if God was going to deal with situations, he would restore Lawrence Fox's career. And he would deal with the people that did that. That's what should happen, really. God should be showing people the consequences of their actions. God isn't doing that. So if you decide to act in a way that shows people the consequences of the actions, let's say that's understandable. Very understandable. The only other option really is to just let it go and let it go completely. But letting it go completely means you really do need the patience of a saint. I'm not saying that in the sense of the patience of, because how much patience would Paul have had if he was being pushed and 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 pushed for a year or two? 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years. How much patience would he have had? If he'd have had some niggly little pain in the arse, trying to cause him trouble. I'm sure he wouldn't have had an awful lot of patience for that person. I'm sure he would have smacked that individual a number of times. Explaining why. Trying to bring them to God at the same time. and then asking for forgiveness for smacking the person. So there is... we are still located in the world, and the world system basically says you go to the authorities and you use them. If you can't use them, then you have street justice. Now, street justice says you respond equally. The problem is, what is equally? In that situation of the Reddit, that woman behaved in a way that was disgusting for a long period of time. Targeting people, bullying people, bad-mouthing people, lying about people. What is the right sort of justice for that? Street justice. Making her come for an interview. And, having her see you, then turn her down. Or making her come for an interview and then cancelling the interview, basically when she's on her way, rearranging it for another day, giving her hope. I mean, that's pretty much nuclear, isn't it? In that sense, that is bang. That's pretty bad. That's not pro-revenge, that would be. Yeah. What do? What is street? And the problem is, if you never lived according to street justice, you have no idea what that would be. So it's better if you can to let it go. If you can. It's better if you can to let it go. Yeah. It is. It's not easy to do. As I say, if people come to you that have been your bane for a number of years, then it's understandable, completely and utterly understandable if you decide to walk away. I mean, there are some people that you really don't want nothing to do with. They've made that to be the case. Their decision. They were the ones who decided that. So therefore, if they come to you, the first thing you want to do is just walk away. You don't want nothing to do with them. Now, as I say, natural response, if you just walk away, understandable. But if you stay and you help them in whatever way you can, then well done. Well done. I mean, that's something that's going to take an awful lot of patience. That's something that's going to take an awful lot of forbearance. And forbearance is something that we don't really have. That's why I say it's understandable for people to do that, because the church has not been teaching people about forbearance. To forbear with people. It means to love people despite who they are. And that is a difficult blinking thing to do. Especially when, you have it on these Reddits where you have parents towards children, children towards parents. There was one the other day, I've forgotten what it is now, but parents towards children. Ridiculous. What was it? Yeah, there was a situation where basically there was one kid who was a bit sick and needed treatment. And the other kid had to basically babysit the sick one all the time. Everything was about the sick one. The kid that was okay should have had a college allowance, but the college allowance all went to the other kid to provide a good life for the one that was sick. Birthdays, things like that, celebrations were never had because it was all about the sick kid. They actually ended up kicking the other child out when when he was 17, because they weren't really feeding that boy properly, and because everything was about the sick kid. So CPS was called, and they blamed him for calling CPS. So they kicked him out of the house at 17 years old. He had to go homeless and figure out his life. Well, then years later, he's got his life together. He's got a job. He's now married, got kids. His parents want nothing to do with him or his family. He sort of tried to reach out for his children's sake. And his parents say, look, we know you've got kids. That's your fault. We don't think you're ready to have kids because you were not a very good person when you were here. Well, then about a year later, parents contact him, ask him if he can help out with his brother's treatment. He says, no. He says, I do have money, but I was planning to buy a new car, so I'm just going to do that because that would be more benefit to my family. Well, of course, then the parents got the aunties, uncles, and cousins and everyone else to contact him to sort of give him abuse and pressure him to pay for their son's treatment, his brother's treatment. And he basically just blocked the whole lot of them in the end, which was completely understandable. There was another one where this is parents out of order. And why children do sometimes say no to parents completely and just cut them out of their lives. And how it's understandable. There was one, I think, girl in this one, female. She was born on Christmas Day, so she'd been told all the way through youth, from the point of understanding, you can either have Christmas or you can have birthday. You can't have both. And she knew other kids who were born on Christmas Day who got Christmas in the morning, birthday in the afternoon, or vice versa. So they got double load of presents, double load of celebration. But she was told only one. So if she wanted to have a birthday, the parents would contact all the other relatives and say, don't buy her anything for Christmas. She doesn't want anything for Christmas. She just wants a birthday present. And if she decided Christmas, phone them up, don't buy her anything for her birthday. She only wants Christmas presents. As if it's her decision. Making out to the family, it's her, the girl, who decided that when it was actually the parents. So, of course, when she leaves home, the parents sort of invite her around for Christmas, say to her, do you want birthday or Christmas? She told them, go away, don't ever contact me again. And then, again, the parents contacted relatives who didn't know of the truth. And they were sort of putting pressure on her, and she just blocked the rest of them again. It's incredible. But it's not really, because parents are human too. And there are bad people out there. Certainly bad parents. I mean, put it this way. These entitled people, these people that are bad people, the people that lie, the people that try and encourage people to be nasty towards you, those sort of people. Like the woman in this story. Those people are going to be awful parents. Because either they're going to be causing trouble for their kid, the way they act around other people, the way they talk about other people, because they're going to keep on doing this. It's who they are. They're going to keep on doing this. They're going to do it to their friends, to their kids' friends' parents, or their kids' friends. Certainly as they get older, they're going to be possibly even talking about their kid in that way. Being really nasty and controlling and punishing to their kid. Because it's who they are. The point of it is, people think they're choosing to be that way and they can choose not to be. No. They've chosen to be, but they've made it a pattern. The lady in that story, she had been like that to the people under her. She'd even been a bully to the other supervisor. So when this person, this this man came into the job as the manager of her and was telling her what to do and trying to get her to do her job, she took offence to that. She decided to slag him off and be nasty to him, to try and turn people against him. But she had started before then. Guaranteed she's going to be like that pretty much until she dies. Because she's decided to be like that. That was her decision. It's going to cost her. She's not going to have any real true friends. If you're a bit of a bitch, then you're going to have bitchy friends. You won't have any good friends. You'll just have bitchy friends. That's the reality. You'll just have people like you that encourage you to keep on behaving in that way. So you're going to stop. How? All of your friends encourage you to behave in that way, don't they? So what? They're going to suddenly encourage you to be better because you're now a parent? They're going to encourage you not to talk about your child's friends' parents in that way because it might have an impact on your child? Of course not. They're going to encourage you not to talk about your child in that way. I mean, the amount of times you've had entitled parents and the way they speak to their kids, it's just out. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. You've got like the Karens now. Karen is this new thing. It's not really. You always had the woman who thought she was entitled and thought she was better than everyone else and all this sort of crap. It's always been the case. They've just got a name for it now, Karen. But those people, think about the children of these people. I mean, look on these Reddit stories. The amount of times that children go to somewhere with their entitled parent, and the entitled parent starts kicking off, and the child is just sort of sitting there thinking, "Oh no, not again! Please, Mum, stop it! Would you please stop?" Yeah, the kid is getting incredibly embarrassed about the behaviour of their parent. Do you really think if you become a parent like that, or you are a parent like that, you really think that your young child, when your child grows up, they're going to want anything to do with you? Comes back to consequences. It always comes back to consequences. In the end, it always comes back to that. If you are that sort of person, there's going to be consequences to that in the end. You'll lose your job. You'll lose your partner. You'll lose your children. There are going to be consequences to it. Because generally speaking, most people can't stand people like that. They can't. They see them for who they are. Oh, what? Because you think you got people on Twitter or people on Facebook who support you because you've lied about somebody, and they support that lie. Yeah. Okay. No, it's a whole. That's why these sort of stories are quite. The reason why I started watching this one is because the title looked a tad ridiculous. The title of this one is Pettyrevenge. My mum stole my car, so I hid dead fish in it. So the reason why I clicked on this particular one is because I mean, it's your car. You're damaging your car because your mum stole your car. What if she gives you the car back? There's no stinking of dead fish. If it's your car, then the title is in your name. You can't steal it. If she steals it, go to the authorities, get the authorities to go around and get your car back. I haven't got to that story yet. I will, but I haven't got to it yet. It could be an interesting one. 1 second, I'll pause this. I will listen to that, and if it's worth it, I'll link the thing on. It's worth adding. I've just listened to a bit of that story, the one about the car. Okay. The person, not sure if it's male or female, don't know. The person was 17 when first got a car. Now, for insurance purposes, mum and stepdad put the car in their name. This person didn't think anything of it because I thought, wow, yeah, it's my mum doing this. That's cool. It's my car, I'm paying for it. So, yeah. So this person paid for the car. The mum and stepdad divorced, but because the car was in their name, mum contacted this person to say, the car's going to your stepdad because it's in their name. So in a divorce, he gets the car. So the bloke says, right, okay. Yep, as you do then. He says the car looked nice on the exterior, but burned through a quart of oil every 2 days and drove, I'm not going to use that word, but drove crap basically. But it was still my car. He then said the week before ex-stepdad was due to pick it up, he quit putting oil in. And then he said his friend had a goldfish that died. So it was only a goldfish he put in. I got the impression he put loads of dead fish in there, but it's only a goldfish, I do believe. So I can't see that as being an issue that's going to be really stinky. The main thing with that is he stopped putting oil in and it went through oil like nobody's business. So, aye. Okay, so on the passenger seat, he cut into it and stuffed the dead fish into the padding, pushed it as far over as he could. Cool. So there you go. That's what he did. So that's why I went into that one. So that's really how I got into the other story. But yeah, that's something that's been on my mind a lot recently about how do you deal with these sort of things? Because, you know, we're part of God's kingdom, but living in this world's kingdom. So how on earth do we deal with conflicts in this kingdom? You can't deal with it according to this kingdom. And if God isn't dealing with it, then how do you deal with it? It's got to be dealt with one way or the other. So, as I say, either you react. And the problem is how do you react? Because your reaction is... If someone has gone nuclear in reaction to something you've done, and their reaction is nuclear, your reaction, if it's going to be equal, has to be nuclear. So therefore, probably best not to react in that sort of situation. Yeah. Tricky one, isn't it? But that's the point. It's tricky to respond. It's tricky to know how to deal with that situation because you were part of the worldly system. Now you're not. And if God isn't dealing with stuff, yeah, we've got to hope that God starts dealing with stuff, that God starts helping people to be aware of the consequences one way or the other. Yeah. It's better, I mean, for the future. It's better for people if they're not losing their jobs or losing their partners or losing their kids. It's better if these sort of things aren't happening, really. It's better for kids if they're brought up by parents who have got a good head on their shoulders. So, I mean, so therefore, maybe one option is to make those entitled people unable to have kids until they stop being entitled. That may be the thing. Don't know. It's up to God to decide how he wants to deal with stuff, but we certainly need God to want to deal with stuff. Because we're in a situation where we can't deal with things according to the world system, because the world system is not on our side anymore. Never really was, but it certainly won't be now. I mean, basically, folks, if the world system is on your side, then you've got to do some examination as to what kingdom are you really walking in. Because this world system should not be on your side. If you're walking according to God's kingdom, then yeah, the law should be against you. Anyway, there you go. You take care. God bless, and I will speak to you soon. Bye bye.